the city of Philly, where the birds take flight. Eagle swag on the rise each and every night. Tone and Markus got the scoop ready to ignite. From the lanes of South Street to the Broad Street lights. Dashing like a running back, hitting every play. 9 guys in the zone, never led astray. Talking touchdowns, talking game day. Huddle around the mic, hear what they gotta say. Fly like an eagle soars in the sky. Tone and Markus always standing by. Bringing their heat, call it do or die. Philly squad, hear the battle cry. Fly like an eagle soars in the sky. Tone and Markus always standing by. Bringing their heat, call it do or die. Philly squad, hear the battle cry.
Beautiful people, what's good, This is your boy, Tone DeShields II. I'm joined by none other than the coach, the big dog, Markus Thomas from Pro Fan Talk. You guys are tuned into your Eagles off-season show. You guys know how we do it here. We always make sure we take care of you guys on Sunday and make sure you guys are in your Sunday's best. As a matter of fact, you know what? Some of you guys are probably in church right now with one earbud in and one earbud out, trying to lock in on Pastor. Meanwhile, you're trying to lock in on us. I understand you're trying to get your sermon and you're trying to get your Eagles conversation in. You feel what I'm saying? You got one foot in and one foot out.
Don't be getting us in trouble, man. Don't be getting us in trouble, man.
Markus, I ain't mad at him though.
I ain't mad at him.
Markus, I gotta be honest with you. I mean, I get it. I get it, man. The content is phenomenal, and you do an amazing job. We do an amazing job, right? So
yes, sir.
Before we get too deep into the content, my man, how are you feeling? How's everything? How's life? Talk to me, big dog.
Everything is all good, man. I got my office look like a hurricane hit it. I just got a new setup for the job, and I'm trying to make. I literally have no room for it, so I gotta like clean house so I can make room on my desk because I got another huge monitor. They hooked me up with a new Mac Studio, so I got to get all of that stuff set up, man. So I got a lot of stuff going on, man. And then on top of that, I'm doing this, and then I got trying to do the content for the Women's March Madness. That's done kicked off. That's been crazy.
Yeah.
And then of course, it ain't even been a damn off season for the Eagles because every week is something else going. Every day is something popping. So.
Yeah.
Been busy, man, but it's a good busy, so I'm not complaining, bro. Finally had my first cook of the year. Got some warm days, put some ribs on the grill.
Ooh.
Almost time to launch a brisket. So we getting there, man. This is my time of year is coming, man. I love it.
Are you a dry rub guy or
Yes.
are you like a sauce guy?
Both.
When
I do a brisket is just dry rub. A brisket tastes the best with nothing but salt and pepper.
I never knew that.
Coarse salt, coarse black pepper, mix it together 50-50, rub it on the top, bottom, and sides. Let that joker go for about 12 hours, man. Best thing in the world. Now, when I do ribs and stuff like that, it depends. Because I've had some dry rubs, stuff that's just, you don't need to put nothing on it. No sauce, no nothing. But I could go down that rabbit hole for an hour, bro. I'm a barbecue nut, so
see, I gotta step my weight up because I told myself I want to become that guy, the guy that you are right now with the bar. I want to become that OG. That's a master grillman, master griller. You feel what I'm saying?
Listen to how this happened for me.
Okay,
so I used to when about 10-12 years ago when Food Network was king. I used to watch the barbecue competitions like religiously, right? And my mom, for Father's Day one time, my mom is a QVC queen, right? So my mom sent me like a little electric smoker for Father's Day that she bought for $80 or something like that on QVC. Man, she bought me that thing, and then like that was the bug that bit me. And I was trying to stuff everything in there. And then about 2 years later, this guy on my job, we had a big tornado come through South Jersey, and he had a huge air compressor. They got ruined. And so he was trying to get rid of this big tank that was in his backyard. And I was like, yo, let me get that. So I'm talking about, I went and I designed a smoker, laid it out, designed it in CAD, whole thing. I got the measurements for the smoker, designed it. Word get around at my office that I'm building this smoker. The founder of my company, who they all car guys, right? So this dude got a garage with, you know, like a truly industrial garage. Got the lifts, like you when you go get your oil change. Got 3 of those lifts. Got an old Camaro in there. Like, dude got money, dude got space, and got all of the tools.
So you built this smoker from scratch?
Yo, he was like, "Why don't you bring that to the shop, and we can build it?" So, man, he brought his truck in. We put it on the back of the truck, took it to his shop, and it was about it's about a 6-week process because we would do it after work.
Okay.
And all the guys would come in, and some guys was good at welding and stuff like that. And we built this smoker from scratch. So, and we started doing that, and I would be one of them dudes out there at 4 o'clock in the morning, stoking a fire, and I'd be getting it in. And then a couple years ago, my wife bought me this. She bought me this Master Built. If you want to sponsor, holler at me. It's called a Master Built gravity smoker. Because I'm big on like reverse feed, gravity fed. I'm interested kind of in the science of how heat flows and all of that type of stuff. So she gives me this gravity feed. A gravity feed means you got like a chimney, but you light the charcoals on the bottom of the chimney. So you got a column with the hole with the outlet on the bottom. So you light it at the bottom, and the charcoal burns down. And this thing actually has a fan on it with a temperature control. So if I set it for 250 degrees, the fan's at the bottom, and it stokes the fire until the internal temperature reaches 250. And every time it drops, the fan kicks on again to keep the temperature consistent. So now all I got to do is load my chimney, put what I'm putting in there, set the temperature, and then it's got an app on my phone where it'll tell me what the temperature is. I can raise it, lower it, all of that type of stuff, dude. So now I can cook briskets for 10, 12 hours, but I could be in the house doing my thing. So I done went to the next level, man. So
y'all hear this?
I'm one of them dudes.
we didn't even start doing the science on the Eagles talk. My man talking about the gravity control, the temperature, then the heat flow and the charcoal, and then the fan kicks on when the temperature drops. I got the app, and yo, I want to be like you when I grow up.
Man, listen,
I want to be like you when I grow up. I'm telling you that right now.
There are two things it is two things that I cannot get into conversations with because I will go down a deep rabbit hole. Barbecue and cartoons. Both of them things.
Oh my God.
Barbecue and cartoons, bro. I will go down a rabbit hole and it will be hard to pull me out of it, man.
Sheesh.
So I was born in the 70s, bro. So I grew up with Fat Albert, Tarzan, Lord of the Apes, Battle of the Planets. I used to watch cartoons before anime came to the States.
Yeah.
So the first anime I ever saw was Speed Racer. Then you went to Battle of the Planets, which was a rehash of Gotcha Man in the, the first cartoon where I actually saw a dude get killed. Johnny Quest, the original Johnny Quest episodes.
Oh no, you taking it back to Hanna-Barbera days.
Hanna-Barbera days, bro.
You going back.
I'm a nerd. Bro. I'm a nerd.
Well, listen, man. I need you to add. I need you to add a third thing that you'll go down the rabbit hole on, and I need that to be the Philadelphia Eagles for the next 45 minutes to an hour. How about that? Let's do it, man. Shout out to my man Coach Markus, man, for giving us the what is it? What do you say? Grilling 101.
Grill Master.
Grill Master 101. We appreciate y'all for locking in on the content. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. It means a lot to us. Goes a long way. Subscribe to Pro Fan Talk. Subscribe to Chalk It Up Sports. Where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. Let's get into it. So, Marcus, last time we spoke, I'm trying to remember now. The last time we spoke, the most recent move they made was it Adoree Jackson?
Yeah, I think so. I think that just happened. Yeah.
Yeah. And since then, they brought in Aziz Ojulari, another Giants player, who has battled his fair share of injury playing on that MetLife turf and has a chance to revitalize his young career in Philadelphia. And out of all the signings, that one intrigues me the most, right? And there were rumors about the Eagles potentially going after Ojulari. Like there were rumors about that, but we didn't really know if we could put any stock into it, right? And the Eagles, and in typical Howie Roseman fashion, he just played the market, watched it flow, and then pounced when the number got comfortable for him. And they signed him to a 1-year, $4 million deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I ask you this, right? When you think about Aziz Ojulari, everything he brings to the table, what do you like? What don't you like? What are your concerns? What are you looking forward to? Give me your perspective on that signing in particular.
Zero concerns. Zero. Because I see what the recipe is now, and I see what Howie is trying to do. He knocked it out of the park with Zack Baun. And we are in all he's trying to do is rinse and repeat. That's it. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, that happens all the time. Now, you already know Zack Baun is a unicorn. You're not going to get that often. You're not going to bring a free agent in that's a special teams player that becomes a Pro Bowler and the best linebacker in the NFL.
Right.
So he hit the lottery with that. But what he's trying to do is bring these guys in, bring in Mekhi Becton, bring in Uche, bring in guys like that got a chip on their shoulder, never had an opportunity to play, battle back from injuries, Brandon Graham, and finally getting an opportunity to play. And now that the word is out that the Eagles can give you that true opportunity to get your bag, everybody comes calling. So now we got a bunch of new players, and all of them got chips on their shoulders because everybody wants an opportunity to play. Everybody wants to be able to tell a story how the other team didn't give them a good op, or I kept getting hurt, or whatever the situation is at the other place. And now they get a fresh start. And that's exactly what we got. So I think Howie is doing what he's been doing, and we got more guys in here that can just, maybe they'll take off, maybe they won't. But at the very least, the floor is at least give me somebody that can play well. The floor is what Oren Burks did. That's the floor. Can you just be adequate as a backup? Can you be adequate? Can you play good? Can you play well when you get your opportunities? You ain't got to be a Pro Bowler. You ain't got to make all the tackles. I need you to play your position and just play it well. Vic Fangio and the scheme will do it the best. You got backup. You got help to the sides. You got helps in front. You got help in the secondary. So you got help all around that defense. All I need you to do is come in and do what you do best. And that's what a player wants. Don't be surprised if Bryce Huff comes, if he don't get traded, don't be surprised if Bryce Huff comes out of nowhere next season. Because there's no pressure on him anymore. He got paid.
Right.
So he ain't got nothing to worry about. If they get rid of him, they get rid of him. Somebody else will pick him up, but he already got his bag. So all he's trying to do is get on the field and show what he can do. Everybody that we done picked up is in that same boat. That's the perfect situation you want to be in. Ain't nobody comfortable.
Mm-hmm. No, you bring up a good point, because especially on the Aziz Ojulari end, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to compete directly with Jalen Hunt, Nolan Smith. I know a lot of people say Nolan Smith is solidified, but you still want that fire behind him at the end of the day to keep him honest. But they brought in a lot of their free agent moves were reflective on the positions where they have most of their youth at. Yeah. Right. For example, Aziz Ojulari, they got a lot of youth on that. They got a lot of youth at that edge rusher position. Mm-hmm. Jalen Hunt and Nolan Smith. Josh Uche, right? You add him to that fold as well. He's going to compete for playing time. And then the two tight ends they brought in, Kylan Granson and Harrison Bryant. Grant Kakatera is still a relatively young player. EJ Jenkins is a young player. Dallas Goedert, he's solidified, but we don't know what his future holds in Philadelphia. So I kind of put him in his own box right now. But Those two tight ends were brought in to compete with Grant Calcaterra. How far can they push Grant Calcaterra? How far can Grant grow as far as his development? Adoree Jackson, OG, 29 going on 30 when the season starts, has experience. He's going to push Keely Ringo. They want Keely Ringo to win that job. That's why they didn't bring back Darius Slade. That's why they weren't impressed about bringing back Isaiah Rodgers. They look at Keely Ringo as a guy that has traits that they like. They developed him, or they're developing him, and they drafted him. They want him to win that position. But they wanted to put the right pressure on him, somebody who has experience. Can you beat out this guy who has played significantly more snaps than you?
Yeah.
That's
he's Bradbury 2.0.
Yeah.
Older player, and people forget. People give Bradbury shit for the last year he played before he got hurt. Rightfully so. He was not good. But the year before that, the year we went to the Super Bowl,
All Pro.
Bradbury was solid. Solid.
Very
and that's
solid.
what we getting the same thing. So they need a veteran presence to push Keely Ringo. Everybody, you already know how I feel about Keely Ringo. Big, fast, physical. I love it. But he's got some tendencies about him, which all young players do who don't play regularly. So when I look at Keely Ringo, when I look at Sidney Brown, guys like that, they are only going to get better the more snaps they get with the ones. On top of that, now you got Vic Fangio overseeing everything.
I'm glad you went there, because I think that's why Howie Roseman feels as comfortable as he does, rinse and repeating this cycle he did. He saw what Vic Fangio and Bobby King were able to do with Zack Baun.
Exactly.
Right. So he's looking at it. He's looking at it from the perspective of, I have the infrastructure, I have the coaching staff to expose all these players, be it for the best or for the worst. There's not going to be a mistake. We're going to find out if you can play or not. That's the one thing I'm not worried about with this team, with this defense especially. We have the coaching staff that's going to put the right people on the field no matter what. And they're going to expose you for better or for worse. We're going to know for a fact whether this guy can or can't play. That goes for everybody, right? They brought in AJ Dillon. As much as they love Will Shipley, they brought AJ Dillon in to challenge him for RB2 snaps, right?
Yep.
They even brought back Patrick Johnson, the edge rusher they drafted before. They brought him back. You know what I mean? He's going to be competing for some reps as well. So the only position that they lost someone that they didn't quite replace in free agency is safety. Now, obviously, Sidney Brown is there, Tristan McCullum, Andre Sam, Reed Blankenship. Reed Blankenship is your starter. Sidney Brown is somebody that they want to become a starter. They want to develop him. But they know who Tristan McCullum is. They know who Andre Sam is. I don't see Tristan McCullum or Andre Sam pushing Sidney Brown at this point. I don't.
Well, pause right there.
Okay.
If Sidney Brown does not tear his knee, is he starting?
I think he's behind schedule. To your point, I think he's behind schedule because of that torn knee. He couldn't get on the field in training camp. He was doing individual drills, and then he wasn't activated until about week 6, week 7. He was behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, but that's my point. Take the knee injury out and look before he got hurt. How he was playing. He had the pick 6. He was doing some good things. So if he doesn't get hurt, is he your starter? I would say yes.
It's a possibility. I can't discount it. Obviously, they brought in CJ, DJ that off season.
Exactly.
But I can't discount the fact that they probably would have took a chance on him because they were on the youth movement already. So
correct. And I guess my logic is, if he doesn't get hurt, they don't bring in CJ.
That's plausible. I'm not. Yeah. I don't know if I would fully. It's plausible. I think it's reasonable to say that.
We were saying with Sidney Brown, like, oh, he looks good.
Yeah, no,
he looks
I like
really
Sidney.
good.
Don't get it twisted.
Right. So I guess I'm just saying that he was trending in the right direction before he got hurt. And then, of course, when 23 happened, it was what it was.
Right.
So he was trending in the right direction. So if Isaiah, if he doesn't get hurt, he's got enough snaps and he's got enough wherewithal on top of, once again, now you got Vic Fangio in the house. Let me get rid of some of them bad tendencies and bad habits you got. So now he's helped even that much more. So possibly, like you said, it's plausible. The whole CJ Gardner-Johnson thing doesn't happen. Maybe
It's possible, for
Slade,
sure.
maybe Slade does leave. Or, it's a million different things that can happen.
Yeah, you're on to something because Vic Fangio, he was supposed to be here last year, but obviously Gannon put us in the bind, and we had to settle for Sean Desai. And when
Exactly.
they hired Sean Desai, and then they followed up by hiring Matt Patricia as like some kind of background guy. That's when I knew they weren't confident in that hire. That's
Yeah,
when I knew.
I did. And I didn't understand that because for as much, I didn't really criticize him that much because we had some good games, good defensive games under Sean Desai.
Yeah, there were moments, and I feel like it was too up and down for one.
Yes.
And on top of that, I think the Eagles did overreact, putting him inside of a box and handing it over to Matt Patricia. I feel like that was a major overreaction. There were so many things that went wrong in that season. It was just a hot mess. So then
Yeah,
you
the
bring
only thing
in
I can think of is if it was stuff going on with the players. If it was the players versus the coach,
that,
then
and that's what I think it became.
yeah,
I think there was a disconnect between Sean Desai and those players, and then they threw gasoline on an already stoked fire when they switched it to Matt Patricia. It was just when that happened, I kind of felt like this defense is cooked for the rest of the year.
I'm a big believer in if you did it once, you can do it again. And I always remember the game we played. I believe it was against LA in LA.
Yeah, that was a good defensive game. The Miami game was pretty solid defensively.
So, but the reason I mentioned the LA game is because Matthew Stafford is a quarterback that everybody wants to throw in the elite status.
Mm-hmm.
And we handle business against him. Sean Desai, that second half of that game, shut him down in that second half. So to me, that showed me something. So everybody, you think about anything else, even the Super Bowl season last year, it got to a point after a game where that game was the turning point. And it just went from that particular game. Either they learned something, they made a change, whatever it was, that was the game. And it just went up from there. It got better from there. And I thought the same thing was going to happen there. Sean Desai has no bearing on whether or not you can tackle as a professional player. Tackling was our downfall that year. That ain't Sean Desai's fault.
Here's where I push back, because I do agree with you on this part. Tackling was one of the biggest issues that we saw. Terrible. Isn't it up to the defensive coordinator? Isn't it up to the coaches to instill and make sure the fundamentals are being drilled? Isn't it up to the coach to make, again, these are professionals, don't get it twisted.
Yes.
But isn't it up to their coaching staff to make sure that they're crossing their T's and dotting their I's and making sure their players have an attention to detail to all the details, the little things about the game? Because that's what stood out about the defensive coordinator and the defensive staff this year.
Yes.
They made sure that those players were focused on the little things, and players even talked about that. He said, we know this game. Every week we were just focusing on the details, tackling, fundamental, positioning, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Angles, and being in our gaps, and just understand, just making sure we don't slip up on the small aspects of the game. I have a hard time not putting that on the coaching staff.
That, to me,
partially,
that is directly in Nick Sirianni's lap. Directly. Because as the head coach, and maybe this is where his inexperience came into play. As the head coach, you see everything, and everything revolves around your ultimate
But
decision.
From the beginning, Marcus, he was always preached from the beginning, from day one. One thing I can say about Nick Sirianni, he's always preached fundamentals. Yes. Something happened in 2023 where things slipped. Something happened.
If you the head man, that is your job to see it and your job to change it, because ultimately you have the ultimate decision. You have the yes or no. No, we hitting the day. Full pass today. We getting it in today. We doing tackle drills all day. You see how many tackles? It is his job to do that. He can override any other coach on that staff. And what difference does it make if they get mad? He fired them anyways. So
I
look at what Dan Campbell did in Detroit that year. He was, I don't know if it was Hard Knocks or whatever, but they always show that speech where he was talking to the team after practice and he was begging them. He was like, man, listen, y'all got to trust me. Y'all got to trust me with this. I know what I'm doing. I know you tired. I know you tired of hitting each other. And I know you really don't want to do it, but you got to trust me. This is what it takes to win. And he was right. He was right. He didn't want to do it, but he knew what it took. And that is something that I didn't see in Nick Sirianni.
Mm.
And it changed after the Tampa Bay game because he knew his job was on the line.
I'm glad you said that right there, because coming from that Super Bowl potential season, right, in 2022, that off season after they lost, they didn't have a mandatory minicamp. They didn't have one. For some reason, it was either canceled or they just never. It's not something you have to do, but they didn't do it. They called themselves making sure the guys got rest. They didn't do it.
They PR'd it.
Then the season goes how it goes. And it's known that training camp, that whole offseason was very light. It's known.
Yes.
It's well documented. We go from the 2023 season into the 2024 offseason. All of a sudden, mandatory minicamp is back. All of a sudden, everybody's showing up to OTAs. All of a sudden, we hitting out there. You know what I mean? There was a shift. There was a shift. And I think it was obvious that Howie Roseman, not Howie Roseman, but it was obvious that Nick Sirianni knew we did not stick to our habits in 2023. We got fat. We got cute. We took our situation lightly. And stuff like that trickles down. And as much as Nick Sirianni does deserve part of that blame for that time, those players still never gave up on him, which said a lot.
Yeah.
Said a lot. But if I'm not mistaken, I think some players are on record saying, yeah, the Sean Desai thing. I think BG said something about it a while back. He said something like, yeah, that coaching staff just, it just seemed like what did he say? It wasn't they weren't a unit or guys didn't respect them or they couldn't push as hard. It was something along the lines that it was just a disconnect between that coaching staff and the players. So they overhauled it. Vic Fangio comes in, brings in his guys. Clint Hurt brings in Joe Casper, the coach of safeties, brings in Christian Parker and Roy Anderson, the coach of DBs in the corners, right? Jeremiah Washburn was already there. He stayed. Brought in Bobby King for the linebackers. You know what I mean? So there was a mentality shift with this new coaching staff. You brought in a bunch of no-nonsense guys. You brought in a bunch of guys that have a proven track record of developing talent and holding guys accountable. And that was the difference. Obviously, you got younger, you got more talented, right? But as far as the mentality goes, there was a distinct difference in their mentality and their approach, right? 2024, you see guys swarming to the ball.
Yes.
Like bees, like flies to honey, swarming to the ball. That defense in 2024 was operating from a hive mind.
You have to practice that.
In 2023, you kind of saw guys just, he got the tackle, or he got it.
Exactly.
There was no accountability. There was no accountability. It seemed like no one was playing as a unit. And that was the problem. And I look at Sean Desai and I say he had a hard time pulling that out of those guys. But then it trickles back up to Nick Sirianni as well. And the offense was still top 10. So it's kind of like, Nick Sirianni is an offensive guy, obviously. His side of the ball, although it had its herky-jerky moments, it was still a top 10 offense. You know what I'm saying? So regardless, though, that brings me back to this offseason and how this coaching staff is prepared and they have all the tools necessary to make sure they bring the best out of whoever they bring in. The Josh Uches, the Patrick Johnsons, the Aziz Ojularis, the Adoree Jacksons, right? Like they have that infrastructure to bring the best out of those guys. And, just going back to the safety position, I mentioned with Sidney Brown, right? Sidney Brown, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't have any direct competition. No. They didn't sign anybody in free agency at that position. They signed everybody. They signed edge. They signed tight end. They signed a running back. They traded for a guard. They brought in a long snapper. They brought in a corner.
Everybody but.
They didn't bring in the safety. So that leads me to something. Either A, they're probably going to bring in another safety free agency, or B, they're probably going to draft a guy in the early rounds.
Possibly. I think
what's your thoughts on that? Because the safety draft isn't that deep in comparison to the D line and the tight ends, right? It's interesting to see that they brought in D lineman free agents, tight end free agents. We're going into a deep draft class with those same positions, but we're not going into a deep class safety position, and we didn't sign a safety free agent.
Well, so let's look at some verbiage real quick. Because I'm very I get real critical about this.
Okay.
What does it mean when you have a deep class? What does it mean if there's not a lot of options? To me, what that means is because somebody on ESPN is just not talking about names a lot, doesn't mean they're not out there.
Fair enough. So
what you got to do is, I use the best example of look what happened when Andy Reid got Patrick Mahomes. He was not a big name. He was not somebody that everybody would. He was not what people thought was going to happen. But like Howie Roseman, he found his guy. He did the homework, found his guy. May not have been a big name, may have been somebody that they forgot, but he found his guy for whatever reason, and you go get him. And that's the situation we're in when it comes to safety. You might not see a bunch of big names out there for whatever reason, but there's going to be somebody, if they haven't found him already, that checks all the boxes, ran a good 40 time, had a good pro day, and when they turn the film on, wow, this dude can cover a lot of ground. Wow, this dude knows what he's doing. He's a smart player. Or look at the situation. Reed Blankenship is the perfect example. Did not go to a big school, went to Tennessee Tech. Shout out to the OVC guys and 1AA, my level. But all he did was get in there. Wasn't the biggest, wasn't the strongest, wasn't the fastest. All he did was know where he was supposed to be on the field. They told me that's the fastest way you want to make a team. The guys that usually make the team, the undrafted free agents or people in that situation, usually it's the guys that learn the playbook the quickest. Reed Blankenship was picking everything up, directing traffic. Sometimes it ain't the fastest, but it's just the guy that knows where he's supposed to be, so he'll do what he needs to do to get there. That's all you need. And again, on top of that, you got the umbrella of Vic Fangio that can disseminate that information down. Do you have the players that can receive what he's given? That's the key. That is the key. You got to get the right type of players for the right type of coaches.
That's a good point, because ultimately it doesn't matter how talented you are. If you can't execute your job in this defense, you're useless.
Useless.
Because Fangio's defense stretches you here more so than it does physically.
Exactly.
Yeah, you have to make sure you know where you're supposed to be. It's the kind of, his defense is kind of set up in a way where it doesn't really matter how talented you are. If you're where you're supposed to be and you play the game with discipline and technique, you'll be stable in this defense, a la Oren Burks.
Absolutely.
You play around enough talented guys where all you have to do is just be competent at your job and just make sure you're in the right place.
Right.
And to your point about the draft class thing and guys that can be unknown that ultimately end up making an impact, just like Reed Blankenship, right? Undrafted guy who's made an impact, he's become a starter. Howie Roseman has 8 draft picks in this upcoming draft. Pick 30, first round, pick 32, pick 64, pick 96, pick 134, pick 161, 164, 165, and 168. That's 1 first, 1 second, 1 third, 1 fourth, and 4 fifths. 4 fifth round picks.
In my opinion, that first and second is gone.
Now, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm of the mindset that Howie Roseman, he has more control over this NFL draft than people think.
Yes.
With the amount of draft capital he has, the amount of bullets he has in the gun. I'm of the thought that pick 32, Howie Roseman is not staying there.
First, second round, they gone.
He's either going to move up to get his guy or move back if he's not satisfied with the way the board fell. He's not staying there.
I think he's going to trade that 32 pick for like 2 or 3, third, fourth, fifth round picks. The reason is because they are, and this is just my opinion, they are scouring the field to find these diamonds in the rough because they know they do not want big contracts because they got to deal with Jalen Carter. All it is positioning himself to be able to move that queen in the right position to get Jalen Carter. You got to set that board up right now.
I see where you're going. I see where you're going with this now.
So they don't want to sign a first rounder. They don't want to sign a second.
I didn't think about it like that. I did not think about it like that.
3 and below. This is all positioning. All positioning. We got all of these guys $4 and $5 million 1-year contracts. He's setting up the board. That's all he's doing.
It's so easy to overlook the money you pay your draft picks.
Correct.
It's so easy to overlook that. I did not think about that now one time when I thought about my draft conversations. The money paid to draft picks.
And now we're in a worse situation because of damn Derek Stingley. Because Derek Stingley got paid down with the Texans. 3 years, what, 90 million, 30 million a year, or something like that. So what do you think Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are going to ask for when their time comes? So now you got Jalen Carter next year, and then the year after that, who they going to sign early? Are they going to do Coop or they going to do Quinyon? Because both of them Pro Bowl players now. That's the bad part of drafting so well. When you draft well like that, that means eventually you got to pay them dudes. So
that's a good point because Cooper DeJean right now for the Philadelphia Eagles, he's on and remember he was drafted in the second round. He has a 4-year contract worth $9.28 million. That's a steal for what he's providing.
Absolutely.
In 2025, he's going to earn a base salary of $1.2 million, carrying a cap hit of only $2.1 million, and a dead cap value at $4.1 million.
Right.
That contract, what he's providing you, that contract is pennies on the dollar.
Right. And now you're talking about a guy that could have been, you could argue that he could have been the Super Bowl MVP. You could argue that. I wouldn't agree with it, but I don't have a problem with him being in the conversation.
Yeah, and to your point about Derek Stingley signed a big contract, 3 years, $90 million, average salary, $25 million, average salary, $30 million. Then J.C. Horn, I think he got signed right before that. They signed him to a 4-year, $100 million deal, average salary, $25 million. And he's a guy that struggles to stay on the field because of injuries, and he still got the bag. So what
do you think is going to happen in 2 years?
A good point. You bring up such a good point about making sure the guys you draft this year are significantly more cost controlled than a first round pick, be it a second or a third round pick, right? Finding those diamonds in the rough. Guys that you don't have to worry about a 5th-year option on, guys that'll be cheap that you can probably get the most out of because of your coaching staff.
Yes.
You're on to something here. Obviously, not bringing back Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, Isaiah Rodgers, Darius Slay, moving on from CJGJ. All those were definitely financially related moves in some capacity.
Absolutely.
But I didn't take it a step further and think about the 2025 draft class and how that would correlate with the Philadelphia Eagles financially, because it looks like the Philadelphia Eagles, based off your notion, they've already identified who their blue chip guys on defense are, or their core guys on defense, or the guys they want to build around on defense. They've identified those guys, and those guys are from the 2023 and 2024 draft class.
Yep.
That is Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. I feel like if your name isn't one of those 4 guys, they look at you as somebody that they can replace.
Yes, and it wouldn't surprise me if they stick with Nakobe Dean. They know he can play,
and he would be cost control because he's coming off of the injury.
There you go.
He's already getting paid 3rd round money.
There you go.
And you have all the leverage in those contract negotiations. So and you still got Jeremiah Trotter on a rookie deal that if things don't pan out, you can still develop him.
There you go.
And make sure he's his understudy, if that makes sense.
If Nakobe comes back and he is every bit as good as he was before he got injured, his next contract is going to be average in comparison.
Absolutely.
He's going to get an average contract. So, cost effective.
And Trotter Jr., he's likely going to be, again, we'll see how the competition goes. I think they're going to draft more. I think they're going to draft more linebackers, probably another linebacker or two.
They're going to give Trot every opportunity.
But Trot is going to have every opportunity here because N'Kobe's starting the season on the pup list. That's not a question.
Yeah.
So, and we don't know when our bye week will be. It'll probably be later in the season this go around. Mm-hmm. But Trotter's going to have ample weeks to prove he deserves to be on that football field.
Absolutely. And what's the floor for Trotter? He stays on special teams.
He's a very good special teamer.
Absolutely.
Very good.
So again, in that particular situation, that's a win-win. That's a win-win. So Howie is maneuvering the board in ways people ain't thinking. And he's setting it up because we have the best defensive tackle in football that we got to take care of. Can you imagine what would happen to this city if they let Jalen Carter walk? Not going to happen. So guess what? You gotta pony up the money. They talked all of that shit when they signed Jalen Hurts to, what was it, 250 or whatever it was?
Yeah, 5 years, I think 250. Yeah,
and you heard all the boo birds come out talking about he ain't worth the money. He'll never get you to the Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah. Now, we done been to the Super Bowl twice and got a ring out of it. That's the deal of the century for a starting quarterback. And now, once again, they're paying all of these elite quarterbacks all of this money, and they ain't sniffing Super Bowl victories. So, you know what? That's just another feather in the cap that Howie understands what he's doing, understands what it takes, and understands how to manipulate the money to get the best for the Philadelphia Eagles. Like I said earlier, all of these guys are coming in because now they know they got a shot. They got a shot to go to the playoffs. They got a shot to make the bag. That's all they want. That's all you asking for. Oren Burks got his ring. So he went and got his payday. Meanwhile, Miles Sanders.
Yo.
You know what I'm saying? Ain't it funny how that window closes so quickly?
Yo, the fall from grace is insane.
It's
and
insane,
look, he got his he probably got the best contract you're ever gonna get from Carolina.
He did.
And I hope I hope he saved them chips because that contract he got from Carolina. What would they give him? Like,
was it 15 million? Something like that?
They gave him a pretty good.
It was a decent contract.
Let me double check that. It was a very good contract for the time.
But you know what he did? What he was trying to do.
They gave him 4 years, $25 million.
Okay.
And
what did he get paid up front?
They guaranteed him $13 million.
Wow.
Guaranteed him $13 million. And
wow.
And he, let's see here.
Hey, hold up, Tone. You got some red going on. You got to acknowledge, bro. Good Lord.
Oh shit.
You got some red in the chat, bro. 2 of them.
Damn, T Will. Hey yo, shout out to my man T Will. Damn. Hey, T Will. My man said love hurts. Sheesh. You right about that, big dog. Damn. Shout out to my man T Will with the
T Will. Let me cook you some barbecue, hundo, man.
With the hundo. and then he doubled up.
Then he doubled down. Up.
He said, let's go body for body. Yo.
Holla at your boy,
the Eagles, man. Damn. Shout out to T Will.
Big shout out, man. The support.
Damn, T.
That's all pro support, bro. That's Hall of Fame support right there, bro.
Damn, T. Shout out to T Will. I appreciate that, yo. That's crazy. T Will, brother. I couldn't be more grateful, my man. Like, I appreciate you. The content. You got me over here stuttering, man. You got me stuttering like I'm in a. No, let me not talk like that. I almost said something crazy. I almost said something crazy.
Well, that's what's up, man. I appreciate that support.
I'm just saying, man. T Will,
I see you in there, bro Claude. Appreciate you, bro Claude.
Hey, Marcus. T Will threw 200 on me, and I had to shake no ass. Shout out to T Will, man.
Staying
Shout
off
out
the
to T.
pole.
Will. I ain't even had to shake no ass.
Oh my God. That's what's up. That's what's up. Appreciate you, T. Will.
Shout out to y'all, man. Y'all the truth. Y'all the truth. Oh man, where were we, man?
I don't know. We just totally derailed right now, man. Rightfully so. Rightfully so.
Shout out to T. Will. No, that's love, man. That is
I
love.
need friends like that, bro. I'm working on it.
That's love. That's love, man. Listen, if any of y'all could do me a favor, man, go check out my man Pro Fan Talk stream, man. We're simulcasting this show. We're live on his channel as well. Go throw a couple super chats his way, man. For real. Go show a lot of my man Pro Fan Talk.
Memberships are active.
Memberships are active on both channels.
Yes,
make sure you guys are a member over there at Pro Fan Talk family. Chuck up Sports Familia. We appreciate y'all. But to your point about, let's get back to the root of the point. The fact that Howie is accounting for these rookie contracts.
Yeah.
And how
future payments.
Because he's playing. This is what makes him special. And this is what separates him from Cincinnati. This is what separates him from Dallas Cowboys. Mm-hmm. All those teams who, for some odd reason, don't get ahead of the curve financially.
Right.
And let me make sure I got this right here, right? Because Jamar Chase and T. Higgins signed one of the most lucrative contracts you can see at the wide receiver position.
On the same team.
On the same team. On the same team. See, they think they're playing fantasy football over there. And this is not that. It says, according to Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer, that 4-year Jamar Chase, his 4-year, $161 million contract includes $73.9 million guaranteed at signing. The guarantees go beyond year 1, too, with roster bonuses and a $29.8 million guarantee for 2027. By March of 2027, the running total of guarantees would reach $112 million. $112 million. That is insane. So let me just make sure we read the entire contract as a whole. Jamar Chase signed a 4-year, $161 million contract with total guarantees reaching $112 million. And then to double up on that, T. Higgins, they gave him a major contract as well. 4-year, $115 million contract with $40.9 million of total guarantees. T. Higgins has an average salary of $28.75 million, and Jamar Chase has an average salary of $40.25 million. You're paying you guaranteed north of $150 million between 2 wide receivers.
2 wide receivers, and you ain't even touched your defense yet.
With total contracts equaling nearly $280 million.
So you know what that means, don't you? The Bengals got to outscore everybody.
With a combined average salary of nearly $70 million. Yeah. $70 million. You're paying on average salary $70 million to 2 players on one side of the ball. At the same position. And then the Dallas Cowboys, they overpaid for Dak Prescott. They overpaid for CeeDee Lamb. And that's not because CeeDee Lamb isn't talented. They could have got away with paying him less. They allowed CeeDee Lamb to watch Tyreek Hill get another extension. They sat and watched AJ Brown get an extension. Watched Amon-Ra St. Brown get an extension. Watched Calvin Ridley get paid by the Tennessee Titans.
They sat back and
get an extension. They sat back and watched all these guys get paid.
They thought
knowing they had to pay CeeDee Lamb. And they still ended up paying him way more. They could have got away with paying CeeDee Lamb less than $30 million.
Yep. They think they know everything.
And again, this isn't about the players. The players deserve whatever money come their way. They're that good. Jamar Chase, Absolutely. T. Higgins, CeeDee Lamb, whoever, Michael Parsons, when he gets, they deserve their money. They deserve their money. But the problem is the team could have paid them less if they would have got ahead of the market. And that's not saying you're cheap. That's not saying you're being a cheapskate. That's called good business.
That's called good business.
Because if you get ahead of it, they ain't got nothing to compare it to.
Exactly.
You don't give them the chance to say, "Hey, I'm better than that guy. I deserve more than that guy." You don't give them the chance to say that. At worst, you know what they should have said? At worst, they could say is, "Damn, I probably should have held out." At worst, they could say that. But guess what? They signed what they signed. So I look at the Philadelphia Eagles as a team always ahead of the curve financially, always utilizing the draft to make sure that they keep guys cost control so they can pay the right people. On defense, they let Sweat walk, Milton walk, and they say, you know what? We're paying the guy that we can't replace.
Correct.
Zack Baun. We're paying the guy with the most value at that position, Zack Baun.
Correct.
You know, we got everybody else outside of Zack Baun who are high impact players, who are core players, rookie contracts.
You gotta make a decision
between now and next year's draft.
You got to make a decision, and that's what Howie's doing, and he's making the right decisions. Down in Dallas, all the people sitting at the table that think they're the smartest people in the room aren't.
And the cap is always going up, right? But guess what? When you overpaying players like that, you're never going to really be able to feel the benefit of the cap going up.
No,
you're
and
not.
Now they got infighting and all of this other kind of stuff, and it's not a good look. Because it would be different if they doing all of that talking and they were winning, but they not. You can't talk when your last championship is on VHS, bro. You can't do that. So my thing is, let them talk. As long as we handle our business, we got our door closed, we are in our own yard, and we will handle our own business. So I saw my man in the chat trolling and all, like, let them troll. Let them say what they got to say. It don't matter to us. Because guess what? At the end of the day, we still going to shine our ring, and we in a good situation where we about to get another. So if you're going to be mad, you just be mad by yourself. So shout out to my man, Bro Claude, Steady Serving Entertainment, with a $5 super chat, bro. Appreciate you.
Serving.
That's my man. I see with my boy K-Sap following the WNBA stuff. And big Chicago fight. He's in Chicago. Bro Claude, hope everything is good. He had tornadoes run through his neighborhood. Hope all is well, bro. Appreciate you. Much appreciation, bro.
You got another one here from Miss Linda Washington. You got another super chat for you, big dog. Good morning. Love the show. Shout out to Miss Linda Washington. And you got another super chat.
Big shout, Linda. Thank you.
You got another one, Marcus, from my man S. Blunt. You know
S.
our
Blunt.
guy.
What up, Blunt?
That's our guy right there.
Yes, sir.
He says, what is it? Play GM for a minute. You have 7 draft picks. What positions would you prioritize? And separately, how do you think the Eagles will pick? Oh, interesting.
First priority from okay, so
you go first.
So there's levels to this. So out of the 7 draft picks, if we got the same order that Howie's got, I'm trading out of the first. I'm giving somebody that 32 pick, and I'm going to get 2 picks for it because that's the first round pick. So I'm going to pick up a pick in the 3rd or maybe the 4th. The second rounder, that's iffy. But let's just say I trade out of the first round and I keep that second round pick. I'm getting a tight end. That's the first thing I'm going to get is a tight end. Then I'm going to get another edge. Then I'm going to get a safety. And then it's kind of up in the air. You would just draft for depth. Maybe get somebody. Maybe I would look for somebody that's one of them guys like a Cavante Turpin type of dude that's going to be specifically for special teams. I'm like, hey, you got one job. This is what I want you to do. So, because I look at what Cavante Turpin does with Dallas. Cavante Turpin can turn a game for you.
He just got an extension just by being a special teamer.
Yes, he did.
A nice one.
Absolutely. So, somebody like that. Get another linebacker. Get another young linebacker in to push. Get another tight end. So I would get 2 tight ends, a linebacker, a safety, and probably either 2 edges or an edge and a defensive tackle.
Okay. I like that. Let me think. Okay, so we got 8 picks here. in those first three, again, this is saying if we don't move.
Right.
If we don't move, right? I'm going to if we don't move in the first round, I'm drafting the best safety available to me. I'm drafting the safety at pick 32. I'm going defense back to I'm going edge and I'm going tight end. So I'm going safety, edge, tight end with picks 1, 2, and 3. Safety, edge, tight end. I'm doubling back, grabbing me another edge rusher in the 4th. So safety, edge, tight end, edge. Now we're at the 5th round, right? I'm going to get me.
This is crazy, dude. I can't. I'm still trying to wrap my head around 8 picks.
So I'm going safety. I'm going safety, edge, tight end, edge again. So my edge is cool now. And I already got the free agents I brought in. So my edge is solidified now. I'm good at safety. I'm good at tight end. Now I'm going to go offensive line. I'm going to bring in an offensive lineman here. I'm not going to say interior or tackle, but I'm just going to say offensive
swing
lineman.
guy.
Yeah, I'm bringing in an offensive lineman who's versatile, a guy who has the ability to play tackle, but also can move inside if need be. I'm going offensive line in the 5th round.
Right.
So I got 5 picks again. So safety, edge, tight end, edge, O lineman. I'm gonna go O line again. Give me another offensive lineman. So back-to-back offensive lineman.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
Then I'm gonna grab a linebacker. And then I'm gonna take a shot on a corner. So I'm going edge. I'm going safety, edge, tight end, edge, O-line, linebacker, corner. That's where I'm at with it.
That's a lot of picks, bro.
And that's if we use them all.
Yeah, and I said, I don't see him keeping 32. I do agree.
I don't see him keeping 32 either.
I would whatever he decides to do, if he keeps the 2nd pick, I would go tight end with that 2nd pick, because to me that's the only position where I think we should draft for, like draft high for.
Which position?
Tight end.
Tight end.
Either a tight end or another edge rusher.
Are you when you say draft high for? Are you talking day 2 or higher?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
I'm thinking specifically.
So that means 3rd round and higher, essentially.
Yeah. So I'm kicking the 1st pick out. I think he's going to trade the 32nd pick in the 1st round.
I think he's going to trade it too. I was just trying to operate with what we have.
Right.
Because I don't know what he's going to do, but I think he will move though.
That second round, and this is where we can revisit this in a couple weeks, because then you're going to have grades out in the mock draft. So you're going to get a little bit more information, and also gives me a little bit more time to watch all this damn film on all these players, because I ain't seen all of them. The tight end is somewhere we need to draft higher, I think, because there's a couple good ones out there. But
yeah,
I don't know what are you looking for? What is Howie looking for? What does Howie think is our priority?
What's your floor at tight end? Is your floor 2nd round? Is your floor 3rd round?
No, our floor will be 5th.
So you're willing to go day 3 for a tight end?
Sure.
Okay.
But this gets into the homework. And this is where, once again, I'm hands off, because I know the Philadelphia Eagles do their homework.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I guarantee you, Howie's going to find somebody between rounds 4 and 6 that wasn't nobody thinking about, wasn't nobody looking at, and find the next damn Jalen Hunt.
George Kittle was drafted in, I think, like the 5th or 6th round. George Kittle out of Iowa. You know what I mean?
Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant.
I think also, let me make sure I got this right here. A guy like Sam Laporta
Yeah.
You know, he went to Iowa as well. They found him in the second round, right? He was a known prospect that people liked. This tight end draft is really, really good. Really, really good. I know some people are saying, why didn't we go DT at any point, right? MJS says DT should be a priority. Here's the reason why I'm not going DT. Here's the reason. Maybe I should have, but here's why I did. I didn't go DT at all, at least for myself. And I'm gonna tell you why I went two edges. Here, I'm gonna tell you why for both. I didn't go DT because I think from a depth perspective, I think the Eagles are better than people think. At DT, you have Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, right? You got Moro Ojomo, who's going to fill that Milton Williams role for you. Remember, the Philadelphia Eagles on DT, they really only went for it. They really went 3 deep, sometimes 4 deep, some days, depending. But for the most part, they scratched the surface of going 4 deep. But Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Ojomo, those are your top 3 DTs right there.
We still got Booker 4, right?
And then you got Thomas Booker the fourth, a guy who took a big step this season, right? And then they got Gabe Hall, who we liked in preseason. We liked him. They kept him around. We liked him. And then they got the kid they traded for from the Raiders, Byron Young, an Alabama kid.
Forgot about him. Absolutely.
Yes. So they got 6 bodies at DT right now. Byron Young was a 3rd-round pick. Byron Young, 3rd-round pick 70 in the 2023 NFL Draft out of Alabama. 6'3", 292 pounds. He's one of those he's kind of like that. He has that Milton Williams, Moro Ojomo build.
Right.
So and also when they traded for him before the season started. They kept him on ice. They didn't give him any reps in the regular season. Obviously, he was behind a lot of guys that deserved to be where he was at. But they kept him on ice. I feel like they looked at him as somebody that they can continue to develop, they can work with, and tap into those Alabama traits that he has. Like I said, you still got Moro Ojomo, who went to Texas, and Thomas Booker the fourth, who showed you something in Gabe Hall.
Yep.
And I think a lot of you guys are underestimating what Moro Ojomo was doing. Moro Ojomo, according to Pro Football Focus, he had a higher pressure rate than Milton Williams. Now, Next Gen Stats says something else, but I think it was a different stat. I think it was a sack rate or whatever it may be. But according to PFF, Moro Ojomo had a higher pressure rate than Milton Williams. So
when Ojomo got his snaps, he made stuff happen.
Exactly. Moro Ojomo got a tackle for loss in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
He got a TFL in the Super Bowl. Moro Ojomo, he's one of those guys, you give him more snaps, I think that production goes up.
Ojomo was another guy. To me, I consider I look at Ojomo like Zack Baun. Zack Baun was with the Saints. He was lost in the sauce. He was a good linebacker, but he was behind other good linebackers. So he just never got his opportunity. But when he got his snaps, he made the most of them. That's what Ojomo does.
Exactly.
He makes the most of his opportunities. If Milton Williams would have gotten hurt or something like that, you would have been hearing a lot more of Moro Ojomo. So I'm not worried about him at all. I think he's going to step in and wreck shop. And we're going to be looking at a situation like, damn, now we got to pay him too. I think Ojomo's going to be just fine.
Let me give you guys something, right? Since you guys have your concerns about Moro Ojomo, and look, he has to improve as a run defender. He has to improve there. He's 6'3", 292. So, you know, he's not built like a Jordan Davis, like your prototypical run defender, right? And he's not as big as Jalen Carter, who can do both. He's an athletic pass rushing and D tackle who can also play D end as well, because he's like a tweener, right? He's literally like a carbon copy of Milton Williams. But let me put something on screen for you guys, those of you who have your concerns about Moro Ojomo. And these are his 2024 PFF grades. And look, PFF is not law, it's not the Bible, but it gives you a reference point. Check this out.
They run the numbers.
Moro Ojomo, check this. He had a 68 overall grade for the position. And keep this in mind. He was rotational. He played behind Jalen Carter. Context matters, you guys. He played behind Jalen Carter, and he played behind Jordan Davis, and played behind Milton Williams.
Limited snaps.
Limited snaps. He had a 68 overall grade, which was 39th amongst 219 defensive linemen. 39th ranked out of 219 players. That puts him in that swing spot, that third DT, borderline second DT echelon. The pass rush grade was ranked 5th amongst 219 qualifying defensive linemen. 82.6 pass rush grade. Run defense has to improve. I will not deny that. But for a guy to be getting limited snaps behind Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Milton Williams, and to be able to have a pass rush grade this high on limited snaps,
yeah,
I'm willing
limited
to bet
snaps.
on that.
Remember that limited snaps.
I'm willing to bet on that. I'm willing to bet on that.
He's a problem. Ojomo makes teams game plan him. Everybody doesn't do that.
And remind you, he was drafted in the 2023 draft class. He was drafted with Jalen Carter. He was drafted in that same draft class. He got buried on the depth chart and under undersized defense and Matt Patricia's defense. He wasn't getting no tick. He wasn't getting no reps. And that, matter of fact, let me make sure I got this right here, because Moro Ojomo. Let's go to his snap counts. Let's go to his snap counts real quick. So in 2023, he played in 8 games. Played in 8 games, right? Let's scroll down here. Look at this. This is Moro Ojomo snap counts from 2023 and 2024. They didn't give him a shot in 2023. They didn't give him a shot. He played 8 games, only played 68 defensive snaps. He was buried on that team. Vic Fangio comes in, Clint Hurt comes in. He gets in their program. He plays in all 17 games, even logged in to start, because I think one of those guys that got hurt, but logged in to start. 388 defensive snaps, played 37% of the snaps, played a lot of special team snaps.
Coaching matters.
He was a rotational guy. He was a rotational guy, man. So, look, he's a guy that I like. He's a guy that was drafted. Let's make sure we got this right here.
68 to 300. Oh, my God. That's oof.
He was drafted in the 7th, week 18 he started. That's right, week 18. Thank you, Esbon. I appreciate it. Drafted in the 7th round. 7th round.
Y'all don't understand that.
The value was insane. The value is insane.
When you go through a whole season and you don't even get 100 snaps, you don't step on the field 100 times in a season, that's rough. That's rough.
That is rough. And he jumps all the way into the 300 range, nearly 400 snaps.
Coaching matters.
7th round pick with a top 5 pass rush grade, according to Pro Football Focus. Top 5 pass rush grade. And let me look up Milton Williams' pass rush grade real quick, just to make sure, just for context. Just for context. And this is me. This is not me trying to down Milton Williams, you guys. Let's not spin it. This is not me. So Milton Williams in 2024 had an overall grade of 70.1. Overall grade 70.1, a pass rush grade of 90.4. So context, right? He was on the field more. His pass rush grade was second amongst D linemen. Second. And Moro Ojomo was 5th with limited snaps. And Moro Ojomo, his overall grade is not that much lower than Milton Williams. Not that much lower.
Coaching matters.
So all I'm trying to say is if Moro gets more opportunities, I think his numbers look like this as far as the grades.
Absolutely.
As far as the grades go. So
absolutely.
So I'm looking at Moro Ojomo's while we got Milton's on screen, right? Moro Ojomo had an overall grade of 68. Milton had an overall grade of 70.1. That's not that drastic of a difference.
Yeah, we know he got to get his run defense better, but again, it would be better if he had more snaps.
Right.
So,
and Moro Ojomo, pass rush grade 82.6, Milton Williams 90.4. Again, Milton was getting way more snaps playing next to Jalen Carter. Moro Ojomo also had opportunities to play next to Jalen Carter, but he had less opportunities to really rev up. Moro Ojomo has a better run defense grade than Milton Williams. Moro Ojomo, although it's not great, run defensive grade of 54.7. Milton Williams, run defensive grade 43.1. So, although there is a slight disparity in the overall grade, it balances out. And I think they did the math on this. I feel like they looked at it like this: we can get similar production out of Moro Ojomo next to Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. We can.
Right. And don't forget, one of the reasons why Milt Williams, and again, you ain't trying to shit on Milt Williams.
I'm not.
But
I promise you I'm not.
One of the reasons why Milt Williams had such a good year is because teams were running away from Jalen Carter. When you have to game plan a player, that means you watching film, and in film sessions, you say, we have got to stop that guy. We got to do something different against that guy, run away from him. We can't let him get hot because he can disrupt our whole offense. So you run around him, you run outside more than normal because you can't deal with that guy. The Patriots, or not the Patriots, the Chiefs found out that every play you run with Jalen Carter on the field, he requires a double team. So somebody else is going to eat because of that.
Right. And based off of this, Moro Ojomo should be able to benefit like Milton Williams did.
Absolutely.
Again, Milton Williams, very good player. Very good player, but the Patriots, they're gambling. They're gambling on a rotational DT becoming a full-time 3-down guy. And I don't doubt Milton Williams will be successful. I want him to be successful. I want him to fulfill the entire length of that contract. I want Milton Williams to get all the money that's coming to him. I really do.
But I also
Jalen
need to
Carter's
see
the
him
benefit.
be better than he got to be better than what Hargrave did when Hargrave went to San Francisco.
And Hargrave, he was injured for 50% of that contract.
Yeah. Still cash that check though.
The first year he did well with them, then he wasn't the same since. You know?
Exactly.
So but regardless, there's going to be a rotation. Jalen Carter is going to play well over 75% of the snaps at DT. You're likely going to see rotations with Jordan Davis and Moro Ojomo. And then if need be, whenever Jalen Carter comes off the field, you're going to see Moro Ojomo next to Jordan Davis.
Yep.
You may see a situation where you see Moro Ojomo next to Thomas Booker. You may. But I think the Eagles, their rotations are going to be set up in a way where either Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis is going to be on the football field at any given time.
Yes.
And whoever needs a breather, if Jalen Carter needs a breather, Moro Ojomo's coming in. If it's a third down pass rush down, you're going to see Jalen Carter and Moro Ojomo on that football field. And you're going to see Thomas Booker fill in when need be. That's what it's going to be. And you still got Byron Young chilling. You still got Gabe Davis, a guy that they like. And also to put it in context, the Eagles only came into the season. Let me make sure I got this right here. They came into the season with only, give me 1 second here. I'm going to pull this up, the archives of the depth chart. When the season started, the Eagles only came into the season with 4 D tackles. Well, let me make sure I got this right here. They came into the season with 5 D tackles. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, Moro Ojomo, and Thomas Booker, 5. So that's how things went. You know?
Not to mention all the bodies that's going to be in during camp.
Exactly. And the reason and also to your question, right? Like I said, so I explained why I didn't draft DT because of the depth of the position already, right? Now, the reason I drafted 2 edge rushers is because although they did bring in Patrick Johnson Although they did bring in Josh Uche, although they did bring in Aziz Ojulari, I'm prepared for at least one of those guys not making the roster.
Yeah.
Nolan Smith and Jalen are going to make this roster. That's a fact. But I'm accounting for what if Patrick Johnson doesn't make the roster, right? What if Josh Uche doesn't make the roster? The one person I think will make the roster is Aziz Ojulari. They gave him 1 year, $4 million. He's making this roster. They're going to make. He has a proven track record of rushing the quarterback. He's going to make this roster. So Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Bryce Huff if he's still here. Aziz Ojulari. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are probably, they may not draft the edge rushers, or they may not draft 2 edge rushers as early as I did, but I think they're going to lead this draft with at least 2 edge rushers, 2 off-ball linebackers, guys that a developmental guy and a guy that can make an impact right away. Because again, they're all about hedging their bet early down. They're all about hedging their bet for later down the line, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what if Jalix Hunt becomes a Josh Sweat type and then he wants to get paid and he leaves? They got somebody in the building that they've been developing. They can put him in there.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
So look ahead.
Right. What if Aziz Ojulari, you know, he plays really well this season and he's able to leverage that performance into a 2-year or 3-year deal with another team? Eagles get the comp pick, but they also got a young guy that they drafted the year before that can step right in.
And remember,
that's cost controlled.
It doesn't have to be everybody. All it takes is one. All these people they bringing in, all of these mercenaries
all it takes is one.
All it takes is one. Mm-hmm. And then you right back in the same situation because you Josh Sweat all over again. You Milt Williams all over again. They outplayed their contract, and there's going to be somebody else out there that's going to give them that bag. So the question will come down to, again, is this somebody that you must have on your football team?
Mm-hmm.
Is he replaceable?
Right.
I mean, everybody's replaceable, but you get what I'm saying. What is your priority as a team? Those are the decisions that Howie Roseman is making. And for the most part, that Joker's got he batting like 550.
Yeah. And Brandon Howard brings up a good point too. He says Ojomo has 2 years left after he has this season and the following season. He has 2 years left. The rest of those guys got 1 year. We need a guy at DT to come in and develop and compete to be in the 4-man rotation at DT. I like what you're thinking, Brandon. You may be onto something. Again,
yeah. And Ojomo got 1 year left.
Well, I think he's counting this year and next year.
No. I understand exactly what he's saying, and he's correct.
Oh, but I get what you're saying.
I'm looking at what Howie Roseman has been doing. He's got 1 year left.
I get what you're saying.
If he plays up to snuff, they're either going to be trying to trade him or they're going to renegotiate his contract.
Early enough. I'm glad you said that. And Brandon, I like where you're going with this because I know I said 2 edges, right? They can very well go edge and DT, to your point. I think that's entirely possible, and I wouldn't even be mad about that, Brandon. So I like where you're going, Brandon. I like that thought process for sure.
You are not wrong, Brandon.
You're not wrong at all. You're not wrong at all. You're having some foresight here. I like that. Now, to your point about the Moro Ojomo contract situation, if he plays well this season, either they trade him, or if they can't get nothing done, or they try to negotiate him early. Remember, he's a 7th-round pick, so he may not have the same amount of bargaining power as a Milton Williams, who was drafted, I think, in the third, who drafted in the 4th round, I think, 3rd or 4th round. Now, here's the thing. I was saying this during the offseason last year. The Eagles, I kept saying, I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles are trying to negotiate a contract with Milton Williams right now.
You mean with
I wouldn't be surprised. No. Last offseason. Follow me.
Oh, last offseason. I got you.
Last offseason, Milton Williams was entering the contract year, the prove it year. Right? Well, not prove a year, but his contract year where he had this last chance to prove if they're going to bring him back or if he deserves a big contract elsewhere. I said, I know for a fact. I'm speculating, of course, but I'm like, I know for a fact that the Eagles are trying to negotiate with Milt Williams right now. Mm-hmm. But Milt Williams is saying, nah.
Bet on himself.
I'm going to bet on myself right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to bet on myself. And he did just that. I'm sure the Eagles were trying to bring the Williams back at a very cost-control contract. I'm sure. But he said, nah, Fletcher's gone. My snaps are going to go up. I'm going to bet on myself.
Bet on myself. Yep.
Now, the question becomes, will Moro Ojomo try to pull the same thing. If he has a really good season this upcoming season, and they try to offer him something, and he says, "I want to bet on myself," Eagles have a decision to make. Are we going to allow him to do that, or are we going to trade him?
The more I think about it, I don't think so.
You don't think?
I don't think so. I think he's going to end up being trade bait. And the reason why I say that is because all the energy is going to be going to Jalen Carter. Then all the energy the next year is going to be going to Quinyon or Coop. So it might not be enough room or enough money. Now, caveat to this is I'm guessing that the salary cap will probably go up again.
Right. So
you might have a little bit more room.
So you're looking at it from the perspective of, and I think I agree with you if I'm correct here. You're looking at it from the perspective of, if it ain't Jalen Carter, anybody in that DT room can play next to him.
Yeah. It's like your parents telling you, man, hey, we got to get a new car. So that means you ain't getting a PlayStation. You can't go to summer camp. You ain't playing in AAU this year. We got to take care of business, because if we don't get this car, mom and daddy can't go to work. So no.
Or to take a step further and say, listen.
Got to put some things on hold.
The first day of school coming up, you can get these sneakers, but you got to settle for these school pants.
Yeah.
You got to settle for
ones you wore last year.
You got to settle for this shirt, these shirts. You know what I mean? You know, you can't get that. You can't get that new iPod Touch. You know, remember this part of iPod Touches? Remember that? you can't get that Switch. You can't get that Nintendo Switch.
Oh
you know what I mean? So compromising, right? You know you're onto something. And also that makes me think about the other positions. I think they're untouchable players, or players that they really want to invest in long term. Carter, Nolan Smith, Quinyon, Coop. If you're not one of those guys, they feel like they believe those guys are so talented and good at what they do, and the ceiling is so high, they can fill in the gaps around those guys with young players, draft picks, free agent, whatever it may be. This is going to be a fun draft.
When you think about this in the macro, everything, then you realize how good Howie Roseman actually is.
That part. And I ain't gonna lie, again, you blew my mind when you mentioned, and I can't believe I didn't think about this, but you shocked me a little bit when you brought up the rookie contracts from this upcoming draft class and how he's going to account for that.
Yeah.
And how he's going to try to get value while paying cheaper deals for a second, third, fourth round picks. They're cheaper than the first rounders, obviously. So I didn't account for that.
What was everybody saying when we got rid of Sweat and we got rid of Milt Williams? Then we got rid of CJ. Everybody in Philadelphia, especially when they got rid of CJ Gardner-Johnson. Everybody in Philly was losing their shit.
Losing their minds.
But you've heard a lot of people, they said, this is what Howie Roseman does. He gets somebody in the draft to replace those players. He is trying to rinse and repeat. He knows what the formula is. You just got to get the right figures to plug in where they're supposed to plug in. That's the hard part.
And he has the coaching staff that can help him identify those pieces.
Finding those players. That's what the Eagles have gotten phenomenal at doing. Finding those players, whatever investigations and background work Big Don be doing on the side, man, he is on top of his game, and it pays dividends.
Yo, Matthew Peters is funny, man. He said the best move Howie made was signing himself to an extension.
Yeah.
Funny, yo.
Howie Roseman be doing the tush push to the league every time he recruits. He knows what he's looking for.
I like this function. He says we got to prioritize and compromise.
Yeah, man. For sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. And Howie has shown if you produce for him at an extremely high level, if he looks at you as somebody that's hard to replace, he will pay you. He's not afraid to pay defensive guys. He just knows where the league is. So he's going to invest more on the offense and be cost effective and efficient defensively from a financial perspective. And if you're that guy, he will pay you. Point being, Zack Baun, all-pro defensive player of the year finalist, made plays every single game of this season.
Yeah.
And it carried over to the playoffs. It carried over to the playoffs. And then when Kobe Dean went down, his production was the same, if not more, and made Oren Burks look good as well. You can't, like, his value was on full display in the playoffs. Full display. You had to pay that man. Whereas, there were points in the season where Josh Sweat, no disrespect to him, he was a very good player. There's moments when Josh Sweat kind of disappears in the pass rush.
Yes.
There's moments. Not say he can't defend the run, because I think Josh Sweat can defend the run well. He sets the edge well. But there's moments where he can disappear in the pass rush. He's not really prone to take over a game, right? Milton Williams, great player, was very violent this year. You know what I mean? He got 5 sacks in the regular season, but there were spots where he kind of disappeared a little bit. So those aren't transcended. Those aren't irreplaceable players. Josh Sweat gave you 8 sacks this year, 7 sacks this year. Milton gave you 5.
Yeah.
Aziz Ojulari is good to give you 5 to 7 sacks on an 11-game season. Imagine if he could stay healthy in a rotational role.
Yeah, exactly. Less wear and tear. Look up. Function just asked the question. He's talking about Zach Baun. Yeah, he says Zach Baun still makes no sense to me. How did the Saints miss like the Giants did? It's not about missing.
They missed. I don't think they
didn't miss. Think about it like this, because the situation with Saquon kind of threw everybody out of perspective. How could the Giants get rid of Saquon? And he did what he did, blah, 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 blah. If Saquon would have stayed in New York, he would have done this. He would have had the same type of season he has been having. The problem was they chose quarterback, but they didn't boost up the offensive line. That was the problem. He ain't got an offensive line.
Or the receiving core. Well, they drafted Neighbors, but they didn't do it.
Yeah, the issue was him coming to Philadelphia. It wasn't that they got rid of him. It's the fact that how they did it, it was on TV. But I don't begrudge New York for doing what they did. They had to make a choice, and any other team would do the same thing when it talks about, are we going to go with a quarterback or are we going to go with a running back that's been injured?
I think their biggest mistake was losing him for nothing.
Correct.
That was the problem.
Correct.
Because losing him was inevitable. You lost him for nothing. I don't begrudge them for moving on from him. I don't.
Yeah.
The problem is you allowed him to go to your rival and go to a situation where his skill set would be on full display, and you lost him for nothing.
Behind the best offensive line in football. That's what makes it look even worse.
Exactly. And look, I'm of the mindset, I'm not paying Daniel Jones. Listen, in the vacuum, I'm not paying Daniel Jones.
That was the mistake.
I'm not even worried about Saquon at this point. I'm not paying Daniel Jones. There's nothing to show me where I should pay him.
That was the mistake.
I'm not even thinking Saquon Barkley or Daniel Jones. I'm thinking I'm not paying Daniel Jones, period.
That was the mistake right there. They chose, and I understand, again, when the people that are supposed to be the smartest people in the room aren't, anybody could have saw that Daniel Jones was not the answer. He just wasn't getting it done. But you chose your quarterback. That part I understand. You chose the quarterback over the running back. He just happened to be the most popular kid in town.
From a positional perspective, you understand it.
Yes.
From a positional perspective. But personnel perspective, I don't understand it.
It didn't make sense.
It didn't make sense from a personnel perspective. But from a positional value, yes, it did.
The best thing they could have done was get rid of it when they got rid of Saquon, traded him, and got some type of Pro Bowl offensive lineman. That's their problem. Their offensive line was trash.
They could have traded him for a couple pieces.
Yeah. And then when you was asking about Zach Baun, they didn't miss Zach Baun. They just had starters in place that they were paying. They weren't playing bad.
They got hurt. What happened was, so to your point about that, they weren't playing bad. The Saints actually have had good defenses, pretty good defenses over the past several years. And they lost in the sauce. They were pretty good at linebacker. Like you said, they were paying guys. They're in cap hell right now. I think they're still in the red. They're still in the negative because they're paying the guys we're talking about, right?
Yep.
He was buried behind a good defense. He's buried behind good players. So they really didn't know what they had, to be honest.
Exactly. He didn't have an opportunity.
But when he got his opportunity to start in those final 5 games, final 5 or 6 games,
he balled out.
He was able to affect the game in multiple ways. But by that point, they can't really tap into that because they got too much cap. He's the last person on their mind as far as taking care of him. He gave you He put up sacks, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, pass deflections, interception, take a TFL. He was stuffing the stat sheet, tackles. Like he was so basically what the Eagles saw, they saw a player who's able to affect the game in multiple ways. And Vic Fangio saw a guy who has the athleticism and the football IQ to play inside linebacker. And lo and behold, we got what we got. And we were able to, what he put up in the micro, we were able to extrapolate that and manifest that in the macro in the Vic Fangio defense. And that's why we got what we got with Zack Baun. So I can't blame the Saints playing the wall. I can't blame him.
No, not at all. And don't forget about Zack Baun's, and here's where I talk about personalities. Zack Baun strikes me as the type of person that is, what do you need? Where do you need me to play? If I got to play special teams, I got to play whatever you need me to do. He's that type of player.
And Cam Holmes is on it right here. They had Demario Davis. They had Pete. It's no way they would know who he was.
Correct. So this goes to show you how good Howie Roseman and the staff with the Eagles are about seeing and recognizing talent. Can they fit in our situation? In my opinion, Jalen Carter is a wild card if we don't have Clint Hurt. Period. I believe that. Mm-hmm. Clint Hurt is somebody that can rein him in. If we didn't have Clint Hurt, I think Jalen Carter would still be as talented, but he would be one of them guys getting in trouble down on South Street.
I think it also helps him having his boys with him. Nicole,
absolutely,
Nolan, guys that are high character. Jordan, Nakobe, and Nolan and Keeley, they're all high character guys.
Absolutely. So, and don't forget, Nakobe was the captain of that team.
Right. And Carter looks up to Nolan. You could just tell that. So I think they would help. To your point, let's say Clint Hurt wasn't here. I think them being there would help as well. But Clint Hurt just solidifies it, right? He ironclads that situation.
He's the big homie. Like that can stand toe to toe with him. You know what I mean? Somebody his size, his stature, his presence. That's what you need. And again, Howie Roseman putting the staff together. Now, this is where I kind of shifted from Howie and I look at Nick Sirianni as like, you know what you need. And you look at Sirianni from the day we hired him to the end of that 2023 year when everybody wanted to fire him to where he is now. The good thing about Nick Sirianni is nobody liked him from the beginning. He took his lumps and got us the ultimate prize. So now you can't tell him nothing. He knows his way works. And the most important thing when you're talking about a team, everybody has bought in. Mm-hmm. Everybody.
What you said was so important to me.
Veterans. Now you got Jason Kelsey. Now you got Lane Johnson. Now you got Brandon Graham. Now you got Fletcher Cox that will vouch for him. So now you got guys that are still playing and guys that used to play.
That still come back to the building. That still come back to the building. Because
now everybody's buying in. Everybody's buying in. The vets want to come here. Everybody's trying to get their last shot for a ring. We are the place to be. And Sirianni's running control. So all that shit they talked about him, about what he couldn't do, he was aloof. He was talked too much trash with the crowd. All of that type of stuff. It is what it is. He is who he is. And what he has become is one of the best coaches in the NFL, period. And he got 2 Super Bowls to boot. 2. You don't luck into that. And you got to have some skills to get to that level.
I love that you said what you said about how he took his lumps early, right? And it's reasonable to believe that by him taking those lumps early, you see, it was so important, in my opinion, for him to be humbled early.
Yes.
Because I think him winning the Super Bowl in 2022, his second year, obviously that's exciting. But I don't know who he would become post that. But seeing a guy who took his lumps, made it to the mountaintop, failed, tried to bounce back, then failed miserably again, went through all those growing pains, took all those lumps, went through really got 4s in the fire, and then emerged at the mountaintop in Super Bowl 59.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the most battle-tested coaches in football right now.
Yeah.
Everything he's endured with the city, with the organization, with the personnel, the turnover, everything the guys constantly poaching his staff, surviving that, the relationship with Jalen Hurts and that becoming what it was. Like, he is arguably one of the most battle-tested coaches in football right now. And I believe he's more prepared to win more Super Bowls now than he would have been if he would have won in 2022.
I agree.
Because of everything he's went through. And to your point about players still coming back here, Fletcher still coming back, right? Guys that are still wanting to play long term. BG wanted to come back after the 2021 season, after the 2022 season, after the 2023. He wanted to come back because of what he believed. He still believed in the quarterback. He believed in what the coach was selling. Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey, those guys came back because they believed in what was being sold to them, right? And then you got guys who didn't even play for the man who still come to the building. Chris Long comes to the building. Bo Allen comes, our former Super Bowl champions come to the building. Like, because Nick Sirianni, to your point, right? Chris Long spoke about on his Green Light podcast how after the NFC Championship game, it was a party in the locker room. Everybody celebrating, whatever. I'm gonna give you two situations. He said he came across Jalen Hurts and he was like, yo, listen, like congratulations, you guys deserve it. Did you guys what were your expectations like getting to this point or whatever it may be like, or basically just asking his perspective on the whole situation of going back to the Super Bowl and what his thoughts are going into it. Jalen Hurts said it was already written.
Yep.
It was already written. And then him and Bo Allen end up in Nick Sirianni's office. Nick Sirianni's sitting there chilling. They go into the office, and again, the fact that they feel comfortable, the fact that they feel like he's that cool of a guy, the fact that Nick Sirianni has created that environment, him, Howie, Jeffrey Lurie, they've created that environment where guys want to come back. Chris Long was like, "Hey, listen, we went into his office, man. He's sitting there with his feet kicked up, with a bucket full of fireball shots, little fireball shots like this." And then they sitting there talking. He was like, "Hey, you guys want a shot?" he throwing fireball shots, and they sitting there kicking it. Like the environment that Sirianni has created for these guys want to play for him. Guys respect them. They're willing to go to bat for him. And I think what the team, Devontae Smith spoke about it on the 7 p.m. Brooklyn podcast with Carmelo Anthony. He mentioned how we got so much respect for Nick because he dealt with so much early on. We saw the things he was dealing with. We saw how many bullets he took for us. We ride for that guy.
Yeah.
We ride for that guy.
And it's something to be.
Now he's a Super Bowl champion.
Everybody can't be the coach that everybody wants to run through the wall for. It just doesn't happen. You don't have the right personality. You're not in the right situation. You don't have the right guys around you. But Sirianni built that culture from the ground up, and he built it after coming in from what Dougie P did in his Super Bowl and all of that mess that happened when Doug left.
Because they weren't in good shape. They weren't in good shape mentally. 4-11 in one season, they were not in good shape.
I still want to know what happened between Doug and Howie that made him fire Doug. Something happened. Something was going on.
Well, I mean,
that didn't make sense.
One of the things that is known is that Doug wanted to take his staff in one direction. Howie said, "No, we're not taking it in that direction." And that's where they veered off the road.
And who was right?
Howie Roseman looks like the genius. He looks like the genius, honestly.
Because guess what? He went down. What's up, K-Sap? My man from Simply Ball Dropping is in the building. Appreciate you, K-Sap.
Shout out to K-Sap.
He went down to Jacksonville. He got his elite, check all the boxes quarterback. And what did he get for it? Nothing. Nothing.
And Trevor Lawrence.
Right people, right place, right time. That's what Nick Sirianni is. He is in the right city with the right staff at the right time. And then after you get all of that, if you luck into all of that, because you have really no control over that. If you don't know if you're going to get good people or not. But if you do, once you get it, then you got to do the job. Then you got to do the job better than everybody else.
But that's
exactly what he's done.
That's what separates the Eagles from many organizations. Jeffrey Lurie he is very good at the people aspect of this sport. I mean, say what you want about Chip Kelly, say what you want about any coach who's been here during the Jeffrey Lurie era. He's never hired a coach. He's never hired a coach that didn't have a winning season.
Yeah.
Like, say what you want about Chip. He had 2 seasons where he won 10 games.
Who's the better coach, Nick Sirianni or Andy Reid?
I mean, obviously Andy Reid has the legacy on his side, everything he's built
obviously
up. And,
correct.
You know,
but the reason I'm asking
Andy Reid is he's the legend. Like, you can't really. That's not really.
No. But the point the reason why I'm asking it is because Nick Sirianni did what Andy Reid could not. He finished in Philadelphia. He got the ring in Philadelphia.
And to your
Andy
point,
Reid
right?
couldn't do that.
Now, I'm glad you said that, because some people would say, well, Andy didn't have the talent that Nick Sirianni had. And here's my retort to that. Hold on, wait. Did we not see this man go to 4 or 5 NFC championship games?
Man, Andy had 5 and TO at the same time. Stop playing.
Like, are we going to sit here and say Andy Reid didn't underdeliver during his time in Philadelphia? You made it to how many? Was it 5 or 4? He made it to.
I think it was 4.
He made it to 4 NFC championships. Then he make it to 3 in a row.
Yeah.
And you got 1 Super Bowl berth out of that?
Couldn't get it done. And don't forget when you got waxed by what,
Tampa Bay?
Your boy down in Tampa Bay, John Gruden.
Like you mean to tell me they weren't talented enough then? They were talented enough to get to the NFC championship then? See, the league evolves. It evolves. At that time, that Eagles team was top tier for its era. So you can't really compare eras, but as far as what I can compare is I can compare results.
Exactly.
I may not be able to compare personnel.
That's my point.
I may not be able to compare the rosters, but I can damn sure compare results.
Absolutely. And for everybody that's talking that trash about Jalen Hurts was carried, Nick Sirianni was carried. How do you carry a team? You can't do that.
Not in
the
the NFL.
Can't do that.
You in the NBA?
No. You got to have a complete team. What happens if you have the best offensive line, but your quarterback is trash? What happens if you have the best quarterback, but you ain't got no offensive line? What happens if you have a good quarterback and a great offensive line, but no wide receivers?
Mm-hmm.
Look at what my Bengals are doing. They got one of the best young quarterbacks in the league. You got 2 top-tier wide receivers, but you got no defense. You got to have a stacked team.
It can't block.
You got I'll say this. Was Trent Dilfer carried? With that defense he had in Baltimore? Was he carried? No, because guess what? He still had a job to do.
Question: did Dilfer play that whole season, or did he just play the Super Bowl?
No, he played. I believe he came in like week 4 or something like that. I don't remember who the starter was, but I think somebody got hurt, and Dilfer came in and ended up playing most of the season.
Okay, let me see. So that was 2000. So Dilfer came in. Okay, so he played 11 games with 8 starts. He went 7-1 in 2000.
Yeah.
So Trent Dilfer, he probably came in around week 5 or something like that. Let me double check this. I just want to look at the game logs real quick from the 2000 season. Trent Dilfer, 2000. Okay, so he didn't play week 1. So here we go. Hold on. So okay, he didn't become the starter until week 8. I'm sorry, week 8. He became the starter in week 8.
And I can't remember. Did somebody get hurt or I don't remember what the situation was that year.
I think somebody did get hurt. Let me double check this. Okay, so
I don't remember who their starter was at the beginning of the year.
Okay, I can tell you that right now. Their starter at that time, give me 1 second here.
Was it Brad Johnson?
Baltimore Ravens year 2000. Here it is. Their starter was Tony Banks.
Tony Banks. Okay.
Tony Banks. Tony Banks went 5-3. And he got hurt. He got hurt in week 8. And Trent Dilfer finished the game, and then they lost that game. But Trent Dilfer was able to come in from that point forward. And actually, as a matter of fact, they lost week 8, and week 9 when Trent Dilfer started. And then from that point, they went on like a 7-game or 6-game winning streak.
Can you see his stats?
Yes, I can. So
what was his stats towards the end of the year?
So he came in week 8 for part of that game. They lost 6-14. Then week 9, they lost to Pittsburgh 6-9. That was an ugly game for both teams all the way around. When the win streak started, Trent Dilfer, week 10, 23 for 34, 67% completion percentage, 3 passing touchdowns.
What was his
week 11?
His yards? You see his yardage?
Oh, I'm sorry. As far as yardage goes, he threw for 244 yards.
Okay.
So week 11, 23 for 36, completes 63% of his passes, 281 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 INT. Another win, 18 for 24, completing 75% of his passes, 242 pass yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Another win, 44-7, beating Cleveland. He went 12 for 23, completed 52% of his passes, 169 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 INT. Let's see here. Let's keep it going. Next game, they won 24-3, 16 for 24, complete 66% of his passes, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 INTs, 187 passing yards. And then the stats drop off from there pretty dramatically. So they really started it seems to me, as they got closer to the end of that season, they started to lean on that running game more and more and more.
That was Jamal Lewis?
That was Jamal Lewis season.
Yeah. 2,000 yards that season, right?
Just want to make sure I got this right here. 2,000 yards. Let me see. Jamal Lewis.
Or maybe like 1,800. He had a great year that year.
Yeah, I think he did. All right.
Yeah.
Jamal Lewis that season. That was he played 16 games, 309 carries, over 1,300 rushing yards, 6 rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
Oh, that was when he was okay. So that wasn't the 2,000-yard season. He had over 1,600 yards from scrimmage. He had over 1,600 yards from scrimmage, but that was the season he was sprinting carries with Priest Holmes.
Ah, yes.
They had Jamal Lewis and Priest Holmes on the same roster.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. They got Priest Holmes from Kansas City, right?
Right. I remember that.
Yeah.
But
so
damn.
I guess I went through all of that to show that you can't. It's not just one person. It's as good as that defense was, as good as that Ray Lewis defense was. If Trent Dilfer didn't do what he did, and people still call Trent Dilfer a trash quarterback, and I was like, trash quarterbacks don't win Super Bowls. Like, I think people have gotten so messed up on the level of play that you have in the NFL on offense and defense. Because I could name off a bunch of different quarterbacks that throw the ball all over the place with crazy yardage stats that ain't never won anything.
Wow. Hold on.
So you got to look at the whole thing. You got to look at the whole team. If you want to call him a game manager, call him a game manager. But game managers win games. Period.
Listen to this for Trent Dilfer, man. This is crazy. That 2000 playoffs, man. He wasn't spectacular at all in that playoff run. He wasn't.
Right.
He wasn't. They won those games. They won all those games by 2 possessions or more.
Right.
And they played really great defense. Their defense was insane. They gave up a grand total. Hold on, let me make sure I got this right here. 3, 13, 16. Through that whole playoff run, they gave up a grand total.
Baltimore before he went to KC. Thank you,
yes,
Lance. I can't remember that.
They gave up a grand total of 23 points in the playoffs on defense.
Yeah.
23 points.
Defense wins championships.
They gave up 23 points. They gave up 23 points to the whole playoff run.
Defense wins championships. You can't win if you can't score.
Yo,
that's nuts. Do you see his stats in the Super Bowl?
In the Super Bowl, he didn't have to do much. In the Super Bowl, he went 12 for 25, completed 48% of his passes, 153 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown. They beat them 34-7. So they ran the ball down their throats.
Exactly.
In that Super Bowl, man, literally, the stats were thus. I gave you Trent Differ stats, right?
Real quick,
as
Shane,
far as
Jimmy Smith. I played with Jimmy Smith. He was an undrafted free agent and was on the practice squad with the Eagles. The Eagles didn't want to play him, and when they finally let him go the next year, that's when he went to Jacksonville and went off. So Jimmy Smith is another one that was right here in Philly, and Kotite didn't give him a chance to play.
Yeah, this is crazy. So, as far as scoring in that Super Bowl goes, Trent Dilfer had the touchdown pass to Brandon Stokely, 38-yard pass in the first quarter.
Yep.
Matt Stover kicked the field goal in the second quarter, making it 10-0. Dwayne Starks took it to the crib with a pick 6. He took it 49 yards, making it 17-0. Then Ron Dixon returned to kick 97 yards for the Giants, making it 17-7. Jermaine Lewis took it to the crib, 84 yards, making it 24-7. Jamal Lewis had a 3-yard touchdown, making it 31-7. And then Matt Stover kicked the field goal. So they scored on all 3 phases. They scored a defensive touchdown, 2 offensive touchdowns, and a special team touchdown. The only touchdown they allowed in that game was on special teams to a kick returner. That defense shut down the offense completely for the New York Giants.
You gotta have a complete squad, man. You gotta have a complete squad. So I'm saying all that to say this.
Kerry Collins threw 4 interceptions.
Yes.
That game.
Yes. Kerry Collins smoking a cigar, too high on himself, thought he was all world. Checked all the boxes again. Get there, but can't seal the deal. Can throw the ball a country mile. 6'5". Everything you want your quarterback to be, and he did everything but win. Because what did he do after that year? He ain't never get back.
Yeah,
so don't tell me Jalen Hurts is not elite. When you get all of these quarterbacks that check every box and throw the ball a country mile, and the ones that even did get to the game could never get back. Cam Newton could never get back. Collins couldn't get back. Jeff George, listen, Jeff George, because Jeff George was playing when I played. Jeff George was the best thrower of the football I've ever seen in my life.
Kerry Collins was a first-round pick.
Better than Dan Marino. Better than Peyton Manning. Threw the ball better than Tom Brady. If you go back and you look at Jeff George throw the ball, that joker had an absolute cannon, but he was not a leader. He just wasn't that dude.
Wow.
Him and Kerry Collins was kind of the same because they thought they were better than they actually were. And it showed up on the field. Got excuses, always getting mad. And that's why when I look at Jalen Hurts and what he has done, and heck, even Patrick Mahomes to that extent, you look at what they have done and how they handle themselves and can get everything done and can stay cool, calm, and collected. When you got all these other dudes with all this talent that couldn't get it done, stop telling me my quarterback ain't elite, man. Stop. Because I can give you more examples of these elite quarterbacks that couldn't throw themselves out of a paper bag. It looks good on paper, but when it comes down, you want your guy winning the game. And we got the guy that's winning the game. All these other dudes can't do it.
Listen to this. In Kerry Collins' first 5 seasons, remind you, first-round pick, 5th overall. In his first 5 seasons, he only has 2 seasons where he's thrown. Make sure I got this right here. He only has 2 seasons on the resume where he's thrown more touchdowns than interceptions. There was a season where he threw 11 touchdowns and had 21 interceptions.
Yep.
I wish they would say something about my guy Jalen Hurts, man. Like, yo, quarterback play was in the toilet at one point. Like, man, what?
But the leash is long when you are a first-round pick.
First-round pick. Yo, let's be honest about this. He played 17 years in the league, man. I want to say 10 of those years No, 14 of those years was because he was the first round pick. I lost your audio. Yeah, you muted yourself. Yeah,
most of the years when he was playing, he was stealing money.
Yo, because here I'm looking at it here. He was a starter from 1995 all the way to 2005. 10 of those years of his career, he was stealing money, all because he was a first round pick.
That's it.
See how much time being a first round pick buys you?
All the time in the world. And everybody can see if you talented or not.
As Butt funny, yo. As Butt said, hey, I stepped away for a second. I don't know how we got to Kerry Collins. That's what happens when it's the offseason. You talking football, bro. Like
that's a legit question, though.
That's a hell of a question, yo. How did we get to Kerry Collins? Now I think about it.
When I was trying to tell people, when you get all of these, back to the same argument, when you got all these quarterbacks that check all the boxes, but they ain't won shit. Yeah. When you stop telling me that my quarterback is not elite. Yeah, he's proven. Jalen Hurts has changed the game.
Did you hear what Devontae Smith said? Devontae
on the podcast.
Yeah, on Carmelo Anthony's podcast.
When he talked about the Big Five.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. See how easy that was?
Very easy.
See how easy it was for to just give your guy his flowers.
But
very easy to do.
Listen, man, you know my logic when it comes to that. Whoever you say is your top guy or your top five, I don't care.
I don't care either.
It matters. It matters not to me at all. The only thing that matters is when we line it up on Sunday and who's going to come out on top. And Jalen Hurts, more times than not, has come out on top. Look at his record in the playoffs. Look at his record when him and A.J. Brown start and finish a game together. All of those facts come into play. And ain't nobody else got that type of love. Nobody. Yeah. But he not elite. So guess what? Now y'all just tarnishing what it means to be elite.
You know what they say? They say, look at the film. Look at the film. He's not elite.
Man.
I realize there's more than one way to play the quarterback position. The important thing is he a master of what he does?
What he does.
Is he a master of what he does? You got a lot of quarterbacks out here that play outside their body. They trying to live up to an expectation instead of playing to their strengths and playing the game how they believe it needs to be played in order to win the game. They prioritize the aesthetic instead of prioritizing the win. And Jalen Hurts is your quintessential blue collar player, a guy who's really earned it from the beginning. Had to get better. Like when I think about the distance travel for Jalen Hurts from his first year starting up until now, it's not even a comparison. Two different players.
Two different players. And not for nothing. And this is the thing that they talk about it a lot, but they don't give it enough credence. They don't, in my opinion, they don't really understand how difficult it is to have that many offensive coordinators and learn that many systems since you've been a freshman in college.
Yes.
Most people do not have a clue how ridiculously difficult it is to do that. He done had to learn 9 playbooks. That is crazy.
Went through a head coaching change.
Yeah. And still took us to the Super Bowl and outplayed the best in the business both times. But I'm sorry, he had a bad game against Carolina. That's okay. My bad.
It's regular season. Everyone's liable to have a bad game in the regular season. You still won the game.
You, Dominique. Appreciate you.
Yeah, shout out Dominique. Shout out Dominique for the super chat.
Yeah,
she says late, but
we running it back. We running it back
for sure.
I'm with you.
For sure. I think so. You know, we got the team to coach. Like, I'm with you, Dom. I'm with you on that. We got another super chat here about my God, the Big Ten Repper. Appreciate you. He says, as far as these super elite talent quarterbacks in the league right now, there's going to be a lot of Dan Marinos in the Hall of Fame, stat guys. Hey,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
don't get it twisted now. Dan Marino was nice.
No, he was the guy. He was that guy. But it's a reason
you know why Dan Marino never went back to the Super Bowl after he made it. I think he went his rookie year.
Yeah.
He they never had a running game.
I heard that he refused to allow the team to invest in a running game.
Yeah.
I heard that his ego was so crazy he trusted himself, then allowing his running back to take some pressure off of the pressure.
There you go. You can't win without a team. You can't win without a team. It sounds corny, but you can't be great without the greatness of others. Shout out to Nick Sirianni.
What's so cool about Nick Sirianni is a lot of his mantras, a lot of his lingo permeates through the roster. You hear players saying it in press conferences, like it's become Bible at this point. It's become law.
Yep.
But Big Ten, you're right, man. You're right, man.
Look at Jimmy Johnson. Look at what happened with Jimmy Johnson in Dallas. Dallas should have had 3 or 4 Super Bowl victories, championships with Jimmy Johnson. Damn.
See, everybody knows it. Pat Ryan speaks on it. Greg Miller speaks on it.
Yeah.
He didn't want to. I even heard my man Cilio talk about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Cilio says this all the time.
And me and Cilio disagree a lot, but Cilio, I got love for Cilio. We disagree a lot, but he spoke on he was coached under Jimmy Johnson at Miami.
Jimmy Johnson. Absolutely.
He played under for many years. So he has a relationship with him, and he spoke about it many times on his show, the National Football Show on Jacob Sports. Shout out to those guys. He spoke on the fact that Dan Marino was so ego-driven. He did not want a running game.
Yeah.
He didn't want a running game.
No.
I don't want
to learn today.
Listen, man, isn't it so funny when this 2024-2025 playoff run started, all of a sudden, the way Jalen Hurts played football became valuable.
Exactly.
All of a sudden, you saw all the quarterbacks playing his style of football.
What did he do different?
Jalen Hurts been playing the same way all year long.
All day long. But when here's the thing. When Jalen does it, he got to throw the ball better. He's not going to be able to rely on that the whole season. When Josh Allen does it, he's scrappy.
Mm-hmm.
When Patrick Mahomes does it, he does what he needs to do to win. They give him all the accolades. When Jalen Hurts does it, it's always a problem. So again, I am not going to convince you one way or the other who your favorite quarterback is. All I know is my quarterback has been to the Super Bowl twice in 3 years. My quarterback has got a Super Bowl victory, and my quarterback outplayed the best quarterback in the NFL in both Super Bowls. Point, period, end of paragraph. And while we shining our ring, y'all can keep complaining. So he ain't got to be in your top 5. Lists don't mean nothing to me. What means everything to me is what he does when he lines up on Sunday. I'm not here for your amusement.
Listen to this, right? Because these teams in the playoffs, they were really leaning into having a balanced attack, right? Remember, we saw those games where Josh Allen would throw for 150, nearly 200 yards, right? Basically throw for under 200 yards.
Right.
Teams having balanced attacks, right? I'm looking at this Chargers-Texans game, right? CJ Stroud threw the ball 33 times. They ran the ball 34 times. Right, I'm looking at the Ravens Steelers game, and that game pretty much was like a ass whooping. But I'm looking at the box score here. Lamar Jackson threw the ball 21 times. They ran it 50 times. In that game, the Steelers threw it 29 times or 30 times and only ran it 11 times. The running game is very, very prevalent. Very, very prevalent. I can go on and on and on here. Bills versus Broncos. Let me open this up here. See how this went. Let me see how this one went. Josh Allen threw the ball 26 times against the Broncos in the playoffs. 26 times. They ran the ball 44 times. Let's take it a step further. Let's go to the AFC. Let's go to the NFC side. Let's go to the NFC side. Let's just look. Let's just look. Eagles, Packers. Eagles throw the ball 21 times. They ran the ball 34 times. Like, these teams, when you get into the playoffs, you got to have a running game.
Absolutely.
You got to have a running game, and you got to be able to trust it. But listen, you guys, the bottom line is this. Your Philadelphia Eagles are in a significant better position than you think. Howie Roseman is the maestro at this. This is HowieRoseman's draft. I'll say it once and I'll say it again. This is Howie Roseman's draft. He controls this thing. He's the puppet master. All right. And I just think that, we're going to be in for a very exciting draft. Marcus, can you read off when the draft starts and when it gets here?
Thursday, April 24th through Saturday, April 26th. And it is March 23rd. So we have literally 1 month.
1 month, baby. 1 month. Hey, you want to try to do what we did before? Day one draft.
Oh, hell yeah. You already know.
Live stream.
You already know.
Rolling. We rolling.
It's done and done.
I love it. I love it, man.
No, I'm working on graphics now, bro.
I love it. I love it, man. So it's going to be really exciting. So you guys heard it here first. Me and the coach, me and my man from Pro Fan Talk, we're going to give you guys another draft show on day one. Another draft show on day one. And listen, if everything bodes well, you know what I mean? If scheduling permits, we may hit you with a day two. You know what I mean? We just may hit you with a day two. Let's keep this ball rolling, you guys. So we appreciate y'all. Smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. We appreciate the love. We appreciate the support. Subscribe to Pro Fan Talk. Subscribe to Pro Fan Talk and subscribe to Pro Fan Talk, man. He does amazing work. Also want to give one more shout out to the people who donated today, man. T Will doubled up with the $200. I mean, he went body for body. T Will with the $200 super chats. Appreciate him.
Will setting records, man. How can I make you my friend, T Will?
Steady serving with the super chats, my man. Pro Fan Talk. Dude. Shout out to Steady Serving. Linda with the super chats for Pro Fan Talk. Appreciate you. S Blunt with the super chats for Pro Fan Talk. Appreciate you. And we got super chats from G Fish. We got super chats from Dominique Mason. And we got super chats from the Big Ten Rapper. So we appreciate you guys for locking in and showing love to us. Means a lot, goes a long way with us. Man, you guys help paying our bills. Smash that like button. Make sure you guys keep it going. Subscribe.
Growing and grinding, brother. Growing and grinding.
Yes, sir. He's Coach Marcus from Pro Fan Talk. I'm your guy, Tone DeShields II from Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to trust to the game. This has been your Eagles off-season show. Hey, Marcus, let's run that song, man.
Go Birds.
In the city of Philly, where the birds take flight, Eagle swag on the rise each and every night. Tone and Marcus got the scoop ready to ignite. From the lanes of South Street to the Broad Street lights. Dashing like a running back, hitting every play. 9 guys in the zone, never led astray. Talking touchdowns, talking game day. Huddle around the mic, hear what they gotta say. Fly like an eagle, soars in the sky. Tone and Marcus always standing by. Bringing their heat, call it do or die. Philly squad, hear the battle cry. Fly like an eagle, soars in the sky. Tone and Marcus always standing by.